Hello friends, Mark Holmes here with my buddy CowboyJobu, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Jobu Sports Report. Whew. One thing you can always count on when you tune in here, I'm going to try and bring it to you as straight as I can, and that Jobu will need a refill. In fact, we might need a double here, because we're talking about the whole Zeke Elliott deal. Okay. This is one of those no-win Dallas Cowboy arguments that's there. Now, I do not by any way condone what happened with Zeke Elliott. Quite frankly, he's got to understand that he is a celebrity. He is a Dallas Cowboy, and he will be constantly in the spotlight. So anything he does will be amplified. And don't get me wrong, because I've gotten a lot of hate mail and things where people are saying that, he sexually assaulted her. Well, the thing that bothers me on this is, I admit, he was wrong for doing the situation. Whether or not he knew her, they had a relationship and all that, he shouldn't have been doing that out in public. But there's a double standard clearly, because other people can do the same thing and not get in trouble for it. Gronk has had all kinds of different transgressions where he's been drunk, falling off of a golf cart, drunk, tripping over a rope, having a drunken debauchery cruise where he's basically saying, I'll give $10,000 for a couple to F on the stage. But if that had been Zeke Elliott, he would definitely have been condemned. And like I said, I'm not condoning what happened and all that, but the way the story is being made is a lot worse than what it may be. Because it reminds me of, when you go to a fast food place and you see that picture of that burger up there, you look at that picture, that burger, that bun is just nice and, plump. You see that hamburger patty just hanging over the sides, looking juicy as can be. The cheese it's just two slices turned just exactly 90 degrees from each other. The lettuce looks nice and crisp, piled high. The tomatoes are about as red as they can be, and you see those perfect couple of slices of onions and the tons of pickles on it. It just looks completely appetizing. So you buy one. But then when you get it home or open it up, it don't look like the picture. It's kind of smashed up. Doesn't look as thick as it did. There's only two pickle slices on there. And the cheese, it just don't look quite right, and the meat's just kind of disappeared in the buns. Now sure, it's got all the ingredients that you saw up there, but it's certainly not the same thing that you saw there. Because like I was showing yesterday in another video, which I only saw once on first take, and all of a sudden I don't see this video anymore after I pointed it out, that this was a parade, a drunken parade, St. Patrick's Day, and I believe it was basically a boob fest. Because clearly after, Zeke pulled her top down, that one was out. She was motioning, you kept noticing she was going like, check out my rack, and then pointing at him, check it out, pointing at him, checking it out, pointing at him. I don't have the audio, so I don't know what exactly was said, but clearly she was trying to bring attention to herself. So while that was going on, I showed you the video where the girl behind her just basically pulled herself right on out, pop, flash, back in. So we don't know what transpired 5 minutes before this, 10 minutes before. For all we know, this may have just been a booby flash type of deal. I don't know. But the thing is, we're getting parts of the picture, and they're selectively picking the parts. Because as you go through and you Google this, what you see in the headlines is Zeke Elliott under investigation for domestic assault, pulls down shirt. Well, that sounds awful. If it wasn't somebody he knew. Because clearly, If he had assaulted her, do you think she would have been hanging out with him, and much less going to Miami and clubbing with him? Now, don't get me wrong. I think somebody needs to grab a hold of Zeke and say, Zeke, slow your roll. You're about to get in trouble and possibly jeopardize the team, because that's what it's really about. So when I'm watching stuff like this is NFL Live.
Jeff Saturday and Damian Woody, and guys, unfortunately for Zeke Elliott and the Cowboys, more scrutiny coming the way of the Dallas Cowboys running back after a stellar rookie campaign, and here is the reason why. During the St. Patrick's Day parade in the city of Dallas, there you see Zeke on a float, and for lack of a better term, got a little grabby, trying to pull down the top of a woman on the float with him. Now, she slapped his hand away, and later reportedly said she had no problem with it, though, and hung out with Zeke and his friends later. But all this comes while Zeke is being under investigation by the NFL for alleged incidents of domestic violence from an old girlfriend dating back to his days in Columbus when he played 3 seasons at Ohio State. Both the Cowboys and the NFL have made no comment about this latest incident at the time. So what's happening? For more on this, let's go back to ESPN insider extraordinaire Adam Schefter. Adam, what more can you tell us, first of all, about the investigation that has been ongoing, really, for most of last season?
Troy, a couple of things to keep in mind. Ezekiel Elliott and his representatives continue to maintain that Ezekiel Elliott has done nothing wrong during this process. So there's that. There's the NFL version, which the NFL has devoted an incredible amount of time and resources into investigating all the allegations that have been thrown at Ezekiel Elliott since basically this incident first came to public light last July. And I can tell you that it's ongoing right now, that the league continues to look at the facts. And even though Ezekiel Elliott makes it sound like he's done nothing wrong and that he will be proven innocent, I can tell you the league is taking a long, hard look, and it will not be a surprise if there's some form of discipline handed down before the season begins. We'll see what the league comes up with. We'll see what the league determines is the proper discipline, if any. And while Ezekiel Elliott maintains and continues to maintain that he's done nothing wrong,
Okay. Now, I'm feeling deja vu here, because this sounds exactly like what happened a couple years ago with Dez Bryant. Because he said he had devoted all kinds of time looking into the Dez Bryant video that was started by Mike Farello when he said on radio that there might be a tape of Dez Bryant out there that he's been spending a lot of time that could be 10 times worse than Ray Rice. And all of a sudden, all of these people went on a tangent looking for a tape that didn't exist. And that's exactly what Adam Schefter just said now, is exactly what he said about Dez Bryant. And they literally drug him through the coals. And we never heard, oh, we were wrong. In the same way that we heard that there were 6 police calls to Dez Bryant's house, which turned out to be nothing from Ian Rappaport. So before we cast a lot of judgment, the way it's being spun is that Zeke Elliott is a sexual predator. He assaulted that woman. Now, I'm not saying that was right, but clearly they had relationships there. They knew each other. But they are literally hanging him in the court of public opinion. Again, I'm not saying what he did was right. I think he needs to slow his roll. I think somebody needs to grab a hold of him and say, Zeke, this is not the thing to be doing here, buddy. You got to slow your roll and make sure these things don't happen because they're a distraction, especially while this case is ongoing. And I pray that all of these incidents put together don't equal a suspension. Because I dare say, Zeke, you need to be on notice that you can't let anything else happen this offseason. So that's been my point of contention all along. And that's the way I viewed it. I viewed it as a 21-year-old guy having a few drinks, party atmosphere, everybody's getting crazy, it's a boob fest, women are popping boobs out here and there, and she's drawing attention to it, so, boom, let's flash the crowd. But then, Phoenix take 2. I had no idea if it's a male or female before, but I've seen her a few times on here, and I appreciate the great comments from people. I try and read as many as possible and try and talk about them as well. And so I read her take on the whole incident, and I said, Phoenix, take two. Thank you for being part of the Jobu Sports Report. I love it when we have ladies that are in here and stuff. It's about all of us together that are football fans. As a woman, I have been involved in numerous spring breaks, Mardi Gras, St. Patrick's Day celebrations. I have partied on 6th Street in Austin and in the French Quarter in New Orleans. Heck, I've even gone to a nudist beach on Lake Travis in Austin. There's a nudist beach in Austin? I didn't know that. Okay, note to self. I probably see this a bit differently than some of the rest of you do. It doesn't matter how much someone has to drink or if they expose themselves. What matters is that he did it without her consent in a public, no less with ever ready public right there to video it for the entire world to see. I think his actions over the past few months have shown that he really could not care less about the team he plays for, his teammates, or the organization that pays his salary. I see a well-deserved suspension coming his way, which may or not help him see the error of his ways. We all know of plenty of cases where I did not help the individual. At this point, I am left to wonder if he will be another one of those could have been, should have been, would have been, who squandered their potential. To say I'm disappointed is an understatement. Oh, and had he done that to me, he would have at least received a black eye. So, it's a different point of view there on the situation. So as a woman, I don't want you doing that to me. I don't care what the situation is. And I understand that view completely. And I applaud it. And, I don't always agree with other comments and things like that, but I always want to have a discussion about that. But that just kind of got me thinking about the other side of the event. We don't know what transpired between them and so on. But for him to go out and do that, it's a no-no. And I worry about where we are with him. Right now, it's the off season. We don't start OTAs for, another month and a half. So it's his time to do stuff. But he's got to be smart about what he's doing, or else he won't be out there. So we kind of got both sides of this argument. One, he's a young guy with money trying to have fun. Second, we've got the media trying to bury him. Where it goes from here, I don't know. But I look forward to your comments, your thoughts on it, and where we go from this point on. And what do you think we need to be doing with Zeke Elliott to keep him out of trouble? I'm Mark Holmes. This is CowboyJobu, and as always, thank you guys for watching, subscribing, and being part of the Jobu Sports Report. Have a great night.